It's time to speak up. Because this time, white people, we are the ones that are going to be on the front crossing that bridge. Do you hear me? We are the ones that are going to stand in the streets. Our black countrymen have done their time at the front of the lines, and it is our turn. It is our turn to face the water hoses and to face the dogs and to face the tear gas, because we have let this happen. Not on my watch. Not while there is breath in me will we go back. Is anybody out there with me? Go love your neighbor.
If you're a white person, we need to start getting even louder on behalf of our friends and family who are minorities. Our government has antagonized them to no end. They're ripping up the street that proclaimed Black Lives Matter. They're removing accomplishments from our minority service members off of the Pentagon website. And now our federal government erased a ban on contractors who run segregated facilities. They are trying so hard to enrage our brothers and sisters of color. They want them angry and they want them out in the streets. It is so clear. I'm so proud of them for not taking the bait. I'm so proud of them for staying home and resting. But as they do, we have to fight on their behalf.
You're saying more black people get abortion.
Yes. So I look
Okay,
at that.
why is that, white lady? White lady, why do more black people get abortion? Because abortions are based on what? Lack of access to resources. Because abortions disproportionately happen to impoverished people. Why are black people more impoverished than white people? Because of white supremacy. So thank you for pointing out that people that have been forced into poverty through systemic racism of the last 200 years are forced to abort their baby more because of the lack of resources to be able to raise a baby. And then you, as a white lady, use that as your talking point to take the health care away from those same women that are suffering in those same impoverished neighborhoods because you don't want to acknowledge the white supremacy behind it all. Go ahead.
Greetings, family. I hope you're doing fantastic, and it's always a pleasure to have you here in my channel. So more white people are now coming up to stand with black people. They have now realized that racism does not pay. So many people are waking up to the truth and realizing that the same system that oppresses black people is the same system that oppresses them. So they're not happy with the way communities are being disrupted, the way communities are living in fear, because these are the same people that stays with them in the same neighborhood, they live in the same area. So when one person is affected, it affects everyone in that neighborhood, all right? So now they have now realized that racism is not just a black issue, but it's something that needs to be condemned. And that now they have united with the black people, and they're saying they are going to fight for this fight, all right? So let's get to see for the whole reaction, and then we come back with a complete analysis and what this means for the future of America, long struggle of injustice. So if you're new here, kindly consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you never miss any update from my videos. Let's dive into it.
To all black women of America, I want to express my heartfelt apology for the role that many white Americans, including white women, played in electing Donald Trump. I recognize the pain and frustration that this has caused in black communities and the ways this outcome has undermined the rights, the safety, and the dignity of so many, especially black women. I understand that black women have long fought for justice and equity, not just for themselves, but for all marginalized communities. And your commitment to truth, resilience, and progress is truly inspiring. As a white person, I'm aware that part of my responsibility is to listen, learn, and actively challenge systems that harm and marginalize. And it's clear that actions speak louder than words. I'm still committed to doing the work necessary to help build a future where all voices are heard and respected. Thank you for your continued strength and leadership. I'm committed to being an ally and creating positive, lasting changes so that we can all live equally in this country. To all of the white women who let everyone else down, check back with me in 4 years. I'm sorry for your daughters. I'm sorry for your sisters that you made a choice to vote a convicted criminal into the presidency. You complain about crime committed by people who came to this country to seek a new life, but you weren't worried about putting a criminal in office again. You must be aware that he's about to use his power to save himself and to save every insurrectionist who was sentenced as a result of the insurrection. You are truly about to see what misuse of power looks like.
The Civil Rights Act was only passed in 1964. I'm in my early 40s, but my parents grew up with segregation in their schools. And there's no way in hell all these years later we're going to go backwards to anything even remotely resembling that. If places are segregated and say whites only, that's not a place I will ever be. And any line of thinking that keeps us separate from one another is a thinking that we need to reject loudly and wholeheartedly. Nobody is better than anybody else in this country because of the color of their skin. We are not, in 2025, going to sit around and watch as a bunch of people make laws trying to make us go backwards. We have to be the loudest ones. We have to be the protectors. We have to be the allies. We have to be the advocates. We have to be the ones whose voices are the loudest in saying, we will not go backwards, and you will not oppress the minority community. Not on our watch. Not now, and not ever.
White supremacy relies on having an uneducated population, and that is exactly what Trump's administration in the White House is creating today. Anti-intellectualism isn't just concerning because individuals don't know how to read or write at a high level. It's concerning because they don't know how to recognize patterns that are happening in society. They don't want you to recognize the historic danger of banning books or realize that in 2023 alone, more than 3,000 books were banned, mostly about sexuality, race, and gender. They don't want you to recognize that erasing history is dangerous, like how Florida changed slavery to involuntary relocation, or that the GI Bill that built the American middle class, including my family, excluded Black veterans. Why? Because if you understood the way that racism is built into the foundation of this country, you would demand change. You would have to if you have any sort of conscience. From education to housing to policing, go back 30, 50, 70, 90 years and the pattern is all there. White supremacy needs you to be uneducated and complacent in your current status. So what is the most radical thing that you can do today, especially as a white person? Get educated, read a book, stop dismissing critical race theory as woke propaganda and actually look at the foundation of what we are saying, and you will literally be shocked.
I don't want to hear another white person say the word illegal for the rest of my goddamn life. We are living on stolen land. Our ancestors forcibly and violently seized this land from the indigenous peoples who were living here for generations before we ever showed up. We do not get to call them illegal. We don't own the fucking planet. Nobody does. We are evolved monkeys with opposable thumbs who use them to write little monkey scribbles on a slice of tree, and we call it a birth certificate with our little monkey sounds. All of it is made up. None of it is real, and it doesn't fucking matter. And it's certainly not a valid reason to rip a terrified, screaming child away from his weeping mother. And I am tired of being made to feel like I'm crazy for being angry about this. Capitalism is just narcissism as an economic system. Imperialism is just narcissism as a foreign policy. If the lion can't claim the safari for himself and call the elephant illegal, then neither the fuck can we!
People don't think they're racist because white people don't understand racism fundamentally. White people think that to be racist, you have to be out hate criming. You have to explicitly be saying you don't like XYZ minority group. You have to be saying you think white people are better. And this level of binary thinking is extremely comfortable for white people because most white people aren't out hate criming. Most racist people aren't out hate criming or explicitly saying they hate minority groups. It's a little bit more subtle for most racist people. Obviously, there are some people who do say that, but that is the exception, not the rule. This goes for both sides of the aisle. Like during the election, people kept saying, not everyone who voted for him is racist, but all the racist people did vote for him. Completely incorrect. Reverse that. Everyone who voted for him is racist. You cannot vote for that without being racist. However, not all racist people voted for him. And that is harmful to say because that perpetuates this narrative of like, or this trope of, I have a black friend, I can't be racist. I voted for Kamala Harris, I can't be racist. I vote for the people who support the minorities. I'm obviously not racist and I don't need to do any further work to prove that. Sophia
We need help desperately. This is my plea to anyone watching around the world. Those of us here in the US are terrified of what's to come next. When we see what Trump is doing in LA, allowing ICE to occupy LA for the next 30 days is unconscionable. I know there are people all over the world that do not want to see this administration do what it's doing. We're getting desperate at this point. People in Germany are reaching out to us to tell us that we are reminding them of them 80 years ago. And for the people who voted for this here in the US, I don't know what you could possibly say for yourself at this point.
White people are suffering from white supremacy too. I had a conversation with a client the other day who is a professor. They teach about white supremacy, African American rhetoric, and XYZ, and different concepts in the diaspora. And we were talking about how white people also are affected and are suffering from white supremacy as well, in the way that my phone overheated, but in the way that white people have no connection to their own culture or any culture whatsoever other than whiteness, white American culture. So an example of this would be that my friend and client who asked his class, how many of you participate in mutual aid? Nobody raised their hand. None of the white people raised their hand. He goes, okay, let me rephrase that and says, how many of you have gone to a friend's house and their parents cooked for you? And then everyone raised their hand. And he goes, right, this is mutual aid. The way that white people have had to come up with a word for community, aka mutual aid, shows that they are suffering from white supremacy as well. While they think they're benefiting, you're actually not allowed to participate in things that would be beneficial to you because of white supremacy. And it's made to seem like Black and brown people are the only people who participate in these things or who would benefit from these things. We, as POC people, we've always known and always participated in mutual aid or community because that's how we thrive. And we are not just self-focused, we're community-focused, community-oriented. And so the things we do are not just for ourselves, they're to benefit our community because that's how it's always been in our cultures. And while white people for so long have tried to strip us of our culture, we still have roots that tie us to our ancestors and our culture and these different practices that have been around long before we've ever existed. And if white supremacy didn't exist or wasn't so prevalent, white people would be allowed to connect to their culture as well. But they've been so brainwashed into believing that having culture or allowing Black and brown people to participate in their culture is a threat to them, and that when we engage in culture it's part of our culture to be violent or oppressive, but really that's white supremacy culture. That's what y'all created. It's not in our culture to overtake others and be violent unnecessarily and hateful and oppressive. That's just not in us. Our cultures are uplifting and bring community together. We dance, we sing, we create, we craft, we tell stories. That's our culture, and that's many of y'all's culture. But you refuse to see, white people refuse to see it that way. And so really, white people are keeping themselves in this vicious cycle of disconnection, of violence, and then want to be like, well, slavery was 300 years ago, like, why don't you just forget about it? No, like, you're still keeping that shit going, and it's actually having negative impacts on white people as well.
Wow. The movement of justice seems to be growing stronger and stronger every day. The white people are now starting to see through the illusion of supremacy and now are starting to recognize the shared struggle against systematic oppression. This awakening is not just about guilt, but about the consciousness and accountability of a nation. they have realized that racism is not something that exists in the heart of a few, but it is something that is found in the institutions, in the laws, in the everyday culture. And they're now learning that dismantling white supremacy benefits everyone, because a society built on oppression, fear, and division dehumanizes all of us. They're not happy with the way people are being disrupted in their communities. They're not happy with the way people are suffering, because these are the same people that they stay with them. They live with them in the same neighborhood. So when one person is affected, it affects all of them, all right? They are now realizing that true freedom, justice, and equality cannot exist when the entire community are still fighting to breathe, and fighting to live without fear. The struggle against racism is far from over, but when people from different backgrounds come together to challenge injustice, something truly revolutionary happens. Thank you so much for tuning in today's video. If you found value in what you shared, kindly consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you never miss any update from my videos. Your support really means a lot, and it helps us keep bringing you more insightful content. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.